Here are just a few of the things that researchers have looked at with regard to middle school kids. They see kids either just quit trying, which I think comes with a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. For example, a fixed mindset is kind of like my niece in her first day of kindergarten when she got a red star. Oh well, I'm always going to be bad, so this is just kind of who I'm doomed to be. Same thing, a fixed mindset is going to be, oh, I um, got an F in science, so I'm never going to be good at science, or I'm never going to be good at math, or reading, or whatever the subject is. Um, I certainly think I had a fixed mindset about math, for example. I had some issues um, where I wasn't taught my multiplication tables way back in like third grade. So then by the time I got to high school, it was just like, meh, this isn't for me. And I kind of had that fixed mindset. Now I do statistics for a living. So um, th- things certainly can change, but you have to get out of your own mindset. Um, you have to get out of that shutdown mode, really. Um, and then we do have a lot of problems related to increased technology. You saw on the last slide, increased bullying is happening. This is certainly includes cyberbullying. We see kids spending more and more time kind of sinking into technology, whether that's video games or um, social media. There's a million different ways kids are using technology, and yes, I do think there are a lot of problems with it. I do think there are also a lot of opportunity for growth, for learning, for um, finding people, if you, particularly if you maybe live in a small town or something and you don't really have a lot of people who share your same interests. I do think social media could be a really great way to reach out and realize you're not alone in this world. There are other people who are like you, who are having the same similar experience, etc. But it's definitely there it definitely comes with its problems. So I just kind of rambled about this on the last slide, so you can read this and make your own kind of decision. This slide just kind of breaks down computer use based on some of those older theories that we've looked at over and over: psychoanalytic theory or the Freudian theory. Um, Gosh, he really just thinks everything is the problem. But really, he would say that you have these deep conflicts um, from your childhood. So he would think that you're just using the internet to kind of cope with some things that happened in your childhood. Behaviorism is strictly based on your observable behavior. So if you're playing games all day, that's the problem. You just need to find another way to spend your time. Evolutionary theory, I do think this has some merit. I think it's why like the like your feed has become so popular on social media. We just have this need to connect. Oh, did you see what so and so did today? Oh man, they look like they're having a good time. um, I saw my brother for the first time in person the other day in a while, because he lives in Tennessee, and he was up here in DC for work. So we spent the afternoon together, and he's like, "Yeah, I saw your social media. It just looks like you're doing all these things and stuff." I said, "Well, you could call me. We could talk about it." But we end up just keeping up with people based on a social media feed. But that doesn't tell him what I'm doing in my day to day life. It tells him what I choose to share with other people. Which isn't very much, coincidentally. So It's just interesting that we do seem to kind of have this need to connect. We grew up, evolutionarily speaking, if we're really looking at history, we grew up in these tribes and moved together as groups. No one lived in these independent houses with just one or two or three other people, just your core family. That wasn't a thing until I guess it really ticked up kind of after industrialization. People were kind of able to move, more out on their own. Well, maybe even before then a little bit. But anyhow, like really historically speaking, we lived in groups and tribes. We didn't live on our own. So we do have this need to connect. We're very social beings at the most basic level. AP courses, of course, are advanced placement courses. As of 2016, about 1/3 of classes, or 1/3 of all high school graduates had taken at least one AP course. IB courses, much less common. International baccalaureate classes, you can take those actually all through school, not just in high school. They also offer them in elementary and middle school. I'm not sure that this is in every school, so because to be honest, I hadn't heard of it until this book. But they do seem to have just advanced, maybe they're more seminar style or a little more college focused than some other courses may be. In the US, we're very reliant on high stakes testing. This has been for many years now. But we are starting to see that high stakes testing is not having the most positive outcomes for students. So you can see, they say here, many East Asian nations have begun to phase out high stakes tests. I think Finland is phasing them out. And I think we'll continue to see more of that. I think that will be the trend from here on out. Hopefully, we'll find better ways to educate students and get them kind of engaged in school and their grades. So this graph just shows the high school dropout rate from 1993 to 2015. We can see mostly improvements, which is really exciting. Kids are more likely to graduate now than they were 30 years ago. However, we do see many more jobs only hiring someone if you have graduated high school. The basic requirements, you have to graduate high school. So it's certainly not impossible to get a job if you haven't graduated high school. It just makes it a lot more challenging. I think the number is about 60% of folks in the US do not have a degree at all. And we are starting to place more of a focus on vocational and technical education than we have in the last 20 or 30 years. It used to be we were just pushing college. And now we're realizing, oh, wait, we have a shortage of people who would be vocational and technical. We need people in this. We have kids not going to college. These are our people. Why are we not training them and giving them the tools that they need? So I think there is a push for that. I know Richmond just graduated its first vocational class. Was it last summer? Maybe 2018 or 2019. I can't remember exactly. Very recently. And they set up internships with local communities, And then these kids went straight out of high school and they had this training, they had this ability, and they went straight to work when they graduated. And they were so happy. It's the path that they wanted for themselves. And I think we really need to be more responsive to that. I think it's a great opportunity for local businesses, for kids, to be aware of that and give them the tools while they're in high school. Because largely high school graduates are unprepared for jobs. To be honest, I think college graduates are often unprepared for jobs. We're not giving you any tools or tips or information on how to be successful in the workplace. We're not saying uh, we're giving you no information about how to build a resume or how to speak at a job interview, how to dress at a job interview, things that some people really take for granted and think, oh, this is basic knowledge. It's not. And then once you get the job, how to behave on the job, showing up every day for the job. There's just a lot of things that I think people take for granted, that we really need to work on as a society, training kids what it means to be in the workforce and be a successful employee.